Hello everyone. So today we begins with the muscle physiology and we are continuously going to the neuromuscular physiology system. Muscular system functions. What is the functions of the muscular system? The body movement, maintenance of posture, respiratory movements or the respiration, production of body heat, communication, for example articulation and speech production, constriction of organs and vessels, heartbeat, which is the function of the cardiac muscle. So all these are the muscular system functions inside our body. Now the classification of muscles, mainly there are three types of muscles: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle, which includes the 40% of the total body mass, and it attaches to the bone, that's why it is known as skeletal muscle. Some exceptions are also there, and for example facial muscles around the mouth which are not directly attaching to the whatever the bony structure, so these are the exceptions of these skeletal muscles. So these are the voluntary muscle, and the important thing is skeletal muscle, it is the only muscle inside our body that it is the voluntary, and it is also a striated muscle. Now the cardiac muscle, it is found only in the heart, and it is a involuntary and it is a striated muscle. Next one, smooth muscle. We are going to find the smooth muscle in the hollow organs, for example intestine, uterus or blood vessels. In these hollow organs, intestine, uterus or inside the blood vessels, we are going to find the smooth muscle, and it is the involuntary and non-striated muscle. So inside our body there are three types of muscle: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. So this is just a classification of the different types of muscles inside our body. Now the what is the main difference between the skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle? So this table shows the different type of specific structures which are present in the skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Skeletal muscles are long and cylindrical and there are many nuclei are there, whereas the cardiac muscle, which is the branch, irregular and single nuclei, and smooth muscle, it is the spindle shape just like this. So this is the spindle shape, and there is only a single nucleus is there. So this is the structural difference between the skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscle. The size of the different muscle varies, and the innervation, the skeletal muscle is the somatic innervation of the nerves. For the cardiac muscle and smooth muscle, there is autonomic nervous system which innervate this both of these muscles. Type of contraction inside the skeletal muscle, these are the phasic contractions, whereas in the cardiac muscle there is a rhythmic contraction, and in the smooth muscle there is a tonic or phasic contractions. So these are the different specifications of the different muscles. Electric coupling, no any type of electric coupling is there in none of the muscles. And hormonal regulations, the cardiac muscle and smooth muscle regulated by the different hormones, but the skeletal muscle never going to be regulated by the hormones. So this is the basic things and specification of the different muscles: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Okay, now let's begin with the skeletal muscle. So whatever the muscle which is present inside our body, which is attached to our bones and it gives the shape of our body. So these are the skeletal muscles which attach to the skeleton or the bony structures of our human body. So for example, we are taking the bicep muscle as an example. So this is the muscle and it is the skeletal muscle of the biceps, and whatever the muscle, it is made up of bundle of muscle fibers. So these bundles of muscle fibers are there, and out of these bundles of muscle fiber, when we are find the one muscle fiber, and this specific muscle fiber, it is known as muscle cell. Inside the muscle cell there is a specific nuclei are there, and there is a more than one nucleus is present in the muscle cell or the muscle fiber. Muscle fiber, it is the single cell of the this muscle, and whatever the cell membrane of this cell of the muscle cell, it is known as plasma membrane, and we will see later on what is the another name of the plasma membrane for specifically for the muscle fiber. But here the muscle fiber having the many myofibrils, and myofibrils having the different type of myofilaments. There are two types of myofilaments are there, actin filament and myosin filament. So these both are the myofilaments are there, and myofilaments continuously forms the myofibrils, and these myofibrils or the number of myofibrils collectively present in the muscle fiber or one muscle fiber, which is known as muscle cells. And there are lots of muscle fiber. When we are going to arrange in a bundles, then it forms the muscle. So plasma membrane or the sarcolemma, whatever the plasma membrane of the muscle cell, it is known as sarcolemma, fuses with the tendon fibers forming the tendons. So this plasma membrane of all the muscle fiber fuse together to form the tendons, and these tendons going to attach to the bone. So what is the made up of tendons? Tendons are made up of plasma membranes of the muscle cells. All right. Okay, skeletal muscle. Each muscle is a discrete organ composed of a muscle tissue, blood vessels, nerve fibers, and connective tissue. So all the muscle having the different type of structures are there: muscle tissue, blood vessels, nerve fibers, and connective tissue. The three connective tissue sheaths which enclose the muscle. So first one endomysium, second one perimysium, and third one epimysium. So this is the muscle fibers, and all these muscle fiber collectively form the fasciculi. So whatever the tissue, connective tissue sheath which enclose the muscle fiber, it is known as endomysium, and whatever the connective tissue sheath which uncovers the fasciculi, it is known as perimysium, and whatever the connective tissue sheath which enclose whole of the muscle, it is known as epimysium. So here you are seeing that this is the muscle fiber or the muscle cell, and this muscle fiber, whatever the sheath is enclosing, it is known as endomysium, and whatever the connective tissue sheath which encloses the fasciculi, it is known as perimysium, and whichever the connective tissue sheath which enclose whole of the muscle, it is known as epimysium. Muscle cell structure. What is the structure of the skeletal muscle? Here we are only covering the skeletal muscle. So it is made up of myofilaments. Inside the muscle cell, there are number of myofibrils are present, and these myofibrils made up of myofilaments. Muscle contraction depends on two kinds of myofilaments, actin and myosin. And what is the sarcolemma? Sarcolemma, it is the muscle plasma membrane or the cell membrane of the muscle cell. So whatever the cytoplasm is present inside the muscle cell, it is known as sarcoplasm, and endoplasmic reticulum of a muscle cell, it is known as sarcoplasmic reticulum. So this is what the muscle cell structure. And one more thing, the nucleus is also there. Nucleus, mitochondria, everything is present inside the muscle cell structure. So sarcoplasmic reticulum, as I just told you that it is the endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell, but here we are using some another name which is known as sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now the sarcoplasmic reticulum having the specific structures, it having the T tubules and L tubules. So here you are seeing it is the T tubule and this is the L tubules. Alright. So this is the T tubules and all these are the horizontal, whatever the structure you are seeing, it is the L tubules. T tubules, these are the internal extensions of the sarcolemma. So this is the sarcolemma. It is the cell membrane of the muscle cell, and this cell membrane at certain point extend internally and it is known as T tubules. They run transverse to the myofibrils. They branch among themselves forming interlacing network. So these are the structures of the T tubule, branch at their cells, and they forms the interconnected or interlacing networks. They open to the exterior and contain ECF. The most important thing here, you are seeing that the T tubule is open. Here it is the cell membrane, and outside the cell membrane it is directly in contact with the extracellular fluid. Alright, so this is the T tubule or the structure of the T tubule. Now the L tubule, it stores calcium and forms triad with T tubules. So here these are the L tubules which stores the calcium. So here it is the T tubule and here it is the L tubule. So it forms a triad like structures. We will see later on what is the importance of this sarcoplasmic reticulum and specific structure. Sarcomere, most important Viva question, most important for the MCQ question, most important for anything of the physiology. Sarcomere, the region of a myofibril between two successive Z disc or Z lines. Myofibril, where myofibril is present? Inside the single muscle fiber. Inside the single muscle fiber there are number of myofibrils are there, and inside the myofibrils there are number of filaments are there, or simply we can say there are actin filaments and myosin filaments. Two types of filaments, but the number may become numerous. The smallest contractile unit of a muscle. Sarcomere, we are saying that it is the smallest contractile unit of a muscle. It is composed of myofilaments and it is made up of contractile proteins. Myofilaments are of two types, thick filaments and thin filaments. So in this figure you are seeing that this is the one Z disc or one Z line, and here it is the another Z line. In between two Z line, whatever the structure is present, it is known as sarcomere. Alright, it is the single contractile unit of a muscle or a smallest contractile unit of a muscle. So this is the sarcomere, structure of the sarcomere in between two Z lines. So this is the one Z disc and this is the another Z disc or the Z line. Here you are clearly seeing that the blue color, it is the thin filaments and it is the actin, and thick filaments, these are the green in color and it is made up of myosin. Inside the structure of a sarcomere there is a H zone is present and it is made up of thick filaments or the myosin filaments. H band or the H zone, here you are saying that it is only made up of thick filaments. Now the next A band, it is made up of thick and thin filaments. So here you are seeing that this is the A band and it is made up of both the thick filaments, and this one it is the thin filaments. I band and I band having only the thin filaments. So this is the I band. Here you are clearly seeing that there is only thin filament is present, or simply the actin filament is present. Z disc, it is a sheath of proteins that anchors the thin filaments and connects myofibril to one another. So what is the Z disc or the Z line? Z disc or the Z line, it is a sheath of protein that anchors the thin filaments. So here you are seeing that that is the Z disc or the Z line, and it is the joining point of the thin filament with the Z disc. So it is the anchors the thin filament. In this figure you are clearly seeing the structure of the sarcomere. Sarcomere, it is the structure which is present between two Z lines or the two Z disc inside the myofibril. It is the one Z disc or the one Z line, and here it is the second Z line or the second Z disc. It is also known as the contractile unit of the muscle fiber. or the smallest contractile unit of the muscle fiber. Alright, inside the structure of the sarcomere there is a H band or the H zone, A band and I band. Inside the H band only thick filaments are there, and thick filament, it is made up of myosin filaments. Inside the A band, it covers both the actin filament and myosin filament, or in other words, it covers both thin filaments and thick filaments. I band, it covers only thin filaments, which is made up of actin. And here you are seeing that this actin filament is binds with the Z disc or the Z line, and Z line, it is made up of protein. So this figure of sarcomere is the most important for the muscle physiology. Okay, now the ultrastructure of the thin and thick filament. So first we begins with the ultrastructure of the thick filament. Thick filament, it is made up of myosin, and inside the ultrastructure of the myosin there are two heavy chains which forms the tail and body of this myosin filament or the thick filament, and there are four light chains which with the help of or which attach to the heavy chains and forms its head. So here you are seeing that it is the head of the thick filament. This is the rod or the tail of the thick filament. Whatever the green color structure you are seeing, it is the myosin two heavy chains which are coiled with each other, and inside the head there are four light chains are present. Myosin head can bind to the active sites on the actin filament or the thin filament, can bend and straighten during the muscle contraction. Can bend, it can bend during the muscle contraction and straighten during the muscle relaxation, and have ATPase activity. I know you are not able to understand at this point what is the specific features of this myosin head, but in the muscle contraction you will understand all about this. Alright, ultrastructure of the thin filament. So here it is the actin filament or the thin filament. It is made up of actin filaments, and there is a double helix consisting of two chains. Two chains are there, and we are speaking one, it is the G actin, and another one it is the F actin, and these are coiled with each other. It forms the double helix. Tropomyosin, it is also present inside the thin filaments. This is the long filament and covers the binding site. So this is the tropomyosin. Whatever you are seeing, the yellow and green color strip on this figure, so it is the tropomyosin, and it covers the binding site. Binding site is there inside the actin filament or the thin filament, which during the muscle contraction going to binds with the myosin head. And the troponin, there are three subunits of the troponin are there. So this is the troponin, troponin T, troponin I and troponin C. Troponin T binds another troponin to the tropomyosin. Troponin T binds another subunits of the troponin to the tropomyosin. So here it is the tropomyosin. This is the T subunit of the troponin, and you are seeing that it is binding with the tropomyosin. So this troponin T binds other two subunits of the troponin to the tropomyosin. Troponin I, it prevents the interaction of myosin head with the active site of actin. Troponin I, or simply inhibition, I means inhibition. So it prevents the interaction of myosin head with the active site of actin at rest. Troponin C binds to the calcium ion. Role of calcium in association of tropomyosin and troponin with the actin filaments. Now whatever the event of troponin and tropomyosin occurs in the presence of calcium ion, which is released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So here you are seeing the structure of the troponin I, this is the troponin C, and this is the troponin T. Now this troponin T binds with the tropomyosin, and tropomyosin uncovers the myosin binding site on the actin filament. So this is the resting state of the muscle. Alright, and here it is the myosin head. Once the calcium ion binds with the troponin C, some type of activity occurs in the troponin I, and it opens up the active site on the actin filament where the myosin head going to bind. Once the myosin head binds with the active site on the actin filament, the muscle contraction begins. So here the calcium ion is the most important for the muscle contraction